You are now listening to Wave a Sound.
Welcome to Versus Mike History. I'm your host, Michael History. In episode 105, Quinn Bee joins the podcast to discuss her journey as a DJ, the versatility in having experience with other art forms, the importance of collaboration, and more. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you choose to listen. Subscribe to our newsletter for brand updates and podcast recommendations, and join our members-only community on Patreon for access to exclusive content. For everything else, go to versusmikehistory.com. Peace, family. Welcome to another episode of Versus Mike History. I'm your host, Mike History, and today we got Quinn Bee in the building. What's going on?
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yo. So I'm gonna go ahead and let her introduce herself in terms of what she does and everything, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Hi, everyone. My name is Quinn Bee. I am a bunch of things. I'm a DJ. I do some design work. And I just help out on a bunch of different teams. I can't even name it all, but thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No doubt. And as I ask everyone who comes on the show, what are you listening to right now? What's in your rotation?
Right now, I actually spent my day listening to Southern Hummingbird and
Awesome.
the Wicked album. So I was going back and forth between those two.
Nice. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Well, actually, before we get started, I am curious to know what you thought of the WizKid album, because I haven't gotten around to it yet.
I'm really big on taking a few listens.
Okay.
So right now I'm still in the deliberation process. I definitely know that I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sure some favorites will arise the more I listen to it, but I'll reserve my review because I want to let it settle first.
I respect that answer. I respect that. All right, let's go ahead and get into it then. Let's go ahead and let's start from the beginning. Like what is your origin story when it comes to creative arts, and did it begin with DJing or did it start somewhere else?
I would actually say it probably started on the Microsoft Paint.
Oh, wow.
Well, that they had back in the day as a kid. My dad was really into computers and stuff back in the day. So I didn't really know how to use the internet. So I would just spend a lot of time on Paint. So I would say I kind of started to develop my creative mind that way. And actually a few weeks ago, I found a bunch of my old photos from Paint, but that's besides the point. So yeah, started there. And then my dad worked at a job where it gave him a lot of access to a lot of CDs and music tapes, cassette tapes. So I would go through the cassettes at the house, and I would go through the CDs at the house. And it was everything from old school compa music and salsa to hip hop and the Chronic, all these random things. So there was an array of different sounds that I was exposed to going through my parents' music collection. And then obviously the evolution to iTunes and controlling your iTunes, to other sites that I won't name, and just kind of getting your music collection together. Mixtape era was in there heavy, just that piff, and just staying up to date with on Wrap Up and hot new hip hop, and just exercising that muscle. I kind of fell off of art for a little bit, and then I just got more into DJing. And then one day I picked up Photoshop and I got a scanner, and I just started playing with different mediums around my house and Photoshop, and just kind of learning that process. So then I kind of started to develop more of my design side, and just working in bigger groups and just putting together full projects. We actually made a book last year for Hans, the artist Hans. Me, myself, and Aaron Lucerna and Hans. I said me, myself, Aaron Lucerna, and Hans. We all put together a book. Then I started working for the Gumbo, which is a hip hop platform for and by Black women, where I would do design work and then also kind of curate different events with Nadira Simmons. So everything that's just like a condensed, super condensed version, but that's kind of how everything started flowing for me from when I was young.
Very cool. Now let me ask you, in the midst of all of this, you spoke about how much of an inspiration hip hop is, and in the process of your design journey,
Mm-hmm.
how did formal art or fine art impact that journey along the way?
For hip hop.
No, in terms of your learning design and art and things of that nature, like you said that that journey started with like album covers and Microsoft Paint, but um, eventually we all grow and learn about, you know, the art world and different artists and different time periods and things of that nature. So I was just curious to know how that impacted your journey in any way, if it did.
Yeah, I think that if you ask me to name 10 artists that influenced me, yeah, you're not going to get that from me. But what I can say is just the way my mind works, I can see something and I can absorb it. So whether that's me going to museums or going through books that have like a collection of different artists, or talking to people who work in other sectors of art. It's really, really vague, but I think that there's so many different influences that kind of have affected my approach to design and also honestly to DJing that it'd be impossible for me to name right now. But I do know that somehow the music does go hand in hand with the actual visual arts. And um, obviously album covers and vinyl and stuff like that have been a really big influence as well.
Right, right. As it always does in terms of going hand in hand. Now, you said that you decided to pivot into DJing, and I'm curious to know what inspired that transition, because I know, because you know it isn't something that you just pick up and start doing out of nowhere. You know, you gotta have some sort of uh foundational knowledge. So I'm curious to know how this came to be.
Honestly, growing up in South Jersey and then listening to DJ Diamond Cuts on the radio and then just hearing her kill it and then kind of developing that understanding of what transitions are and how you go from song to song and just how you can really like get get a reaction out of people from music and just listening to her do that on the radio from my house. And then also listening to other DJs and just being around and hearing certain transitions and being like, yo, that's cool. But I want to see if I take it and I do it like this, and kind of just being inspired from hearing other people do their thing and then wanting to take it and then flip it into my own version. Um, so like after kind of like feeling like that for a while, I downloaded DJ software onto my iPad back in 2000 and like, what year was that? 2013 possibly, maybe 2012. It was the DJ app on the where a lot of people start to, but on the iPad. And I would like, it has like EQs and it has like a crossfader, and you can upload your music from your iTunes to it, and it has like 2 decks. So I would really start to like understand like what it's like to move between songs. And then fast forward from 2012, 13 to about 2016, I met Malcolm B, and he is a DJ and a bunch of other things, photographer, everything, and dancer. And I worked with him, and and we worked at the same job. And on the downtime, he would bring his controller to work, and then like I'd be like, oh, like let me see, and I started to like learn it that way. So I went from the iPad to the actual physical like mini controller. And then eventually I was like, the only way I'm gonna really get better at this is if I get my own equipment. And after that, it went from here and there on the iPad, a little bit at work, to like hours and hours of just being locked into this controller that I bought. So that's kind of where I started my DJ process.
And over what span of time would you say that that was?
So 2012 to 2016 is 4 years of just general interest. And then 2016 until now. So you're asking how long I've been DJing or how long it took for me to like develop like my skills?
I guess a little bit of both.
Okay.
It was just gonna lead into another question about um what type of DJ you decided to be in that process, because there's so many different vibes that a DJ can provide for, whether it's like whether in your crib, whether it's a party, whether it's like an outdoor event, and or even like the type of genre that you choose to spin. And I'm curious to know like what goes into the process of deciding what type of DJ you're going to be while learning the process.
Yeah, I don't think I ever thought about it in that kind of way. I was just listening to the songs that I liked, whether it was what was popping in R&B, like some Ryan Leslie back in the day, or maybe some at the time like Kaytranada was newer. So like
Mm-hmm.
getting to learning about Kaytranada and like Sango and all these other amazing like SoundCloud or just like flip artists. And then just I had just whatever, like even if it was like some like Nirvana, I would throw that in there because I was just learning how to just make songs sound good together. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's something that I feel blessed with because I don't like to. I never started saying like, oh, I'm gonna be a hip hop and R&B DJ or I'm gonna be a electro house. Like I'm just like whatever I feel like and whatever fits the space that I'm in. So when I was learning, I learned everything. And now when I DJ, depending on what the event is, I might stick with more with one type of sound or whatever. But for the most part, I like to try to at least throw a little curveball here and there when it comes to what I play, and I don't like to limit myself on that.
Sounds dope. Now, what you spoke about having sort of a mentor um lead you into the right direction when you started your DJ journey. I'm sure along the way you meet different people who are like-minded and who want to go on the same path as you. How do you navigate those types of relationships in terms of giving people game and receiving game?
I think that there are a lot of DJs and it's a beautiful thing. But I like to think that the relationships that I have like held closer over the years um, have influenced me in like a very, very positive way. Um, and to be DJs and then also to find time to really connect and really like see each other is a great thing too. And I think those are the relationships where I really like learn like tips and tricks on how to flip certain things and just maybe like a new way to work the software that I didn't know about or like
Mm,
kind of troubleshooting things that I've always struggled with but I didn't know how to fix. Like when you are able to really have that spark with another DJ, those are the times that that information flows seamlessly. And when it comes to giving game or just walking along the DJ path with somebody else, I think that because we're all people and we can be busy and sometimes we don't connect. If I do have the ability to really connect with somebody, like if you're respectful to me and I'm respectful to you, and like there's like a somewhat of a spark there, I have no problem with like sharing whatever with you. There's no limits to the information that I would share, but it's just more so about like timing and yeah, just what the relationship blossoms into. Not that I would not tell anybody anything because I don't really believe in gatekeeping all the way per se when it comes to music. It's just music is music. If I don't show you, somebody else will. You'll find it, so there's no need to really hide it. um but yeah, I think those relationships, they're really really beautiful if you have the time to put into them and help them grow in the DJ space.
awesome. Now I have a question because I notice a lot of differences when I go out to different events in terms of how the crowd responds, whether there's a man that's DJing or a woman that's DJing. And I kind of want to know from your perspective, what are the benefits of having having a woman DJ at an event?
I think that music is music. So no matter who's playing it, if you have the ability to tap in with the crowd, whether it be a small event or a big event, then that's what matters. I think that whether it's a man or a woman, that's not really something that I personally spend much time thinking about. Unless it's a space where I feel like a woman presence or a man presence is severely lacking, and it's not exclusively made for a specific type of event. Yeah, I'm pretty open. But I will say that having the ability to work with the gumbo and uplift other women DJs is one of my favorite things to do. So I will say to that respect, like it's great to have to work with other women DJs when it comes to working with the gumbo.
I like that answer. I like that answer. I don't know if I necessarily feel the same, but I do respect that because I feel like for the most part, it's how, especially in our community, in the Black community, it's how we connect. And I really don't like the types of narratives and conversation that go on. I guess more so now than ever about like how music is divisive and this and that. You got to choose sides and all this. It's a very weird era that we're living in. But let me move on. I want to talk to you about uh how you incorporate how you incorporate your network in terms of who do you choose to work with on certain events, and how do you measure what type of crowd you're going to have going into a set?
Typically, I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open to work with a lot of people. Um, I will say that most of the connections that I have made have been just from a mutual like respect, or somebody hears something that I do and then they reach out and they would like to have me on their event, or I hear something they do and I would like to have them in my event, or somebody recommends them. So I'm pretty open, honestly. There's a lot of events that I would do. Was there a second part to your question? I'm sorry, I forgot.
No, it's cool. That was really the general sense of it. I was kind of also trying to get a little bit of insight on how you make connections with the people that you've worked with, and how you've gone about building a network in general.
Gotcha. Yeah, just more so just recommendations or just being out. Honestly, I've met some people through SoundCloud. That was pretty cool. Very, very tough DJs. Or just sometimes just being around the city, and then just like maybe if you get a moment to speak to the DJ, preferably when they're not DJing, and you say, hey, like amazing set, like, and then you genuinely mean it. You're not just saying that, because I try not to just give compliments that like aren't real. That's not really my vibe. But most of the time I do have a lot to give. So you'll talk to the DJ and be like, hey, like I just stumbled in here, dope set. And then you guys connect that way. And it's the city is amazing because I feel like you have the ability to like have one good interaction with somebody, and then that interaction just fuel an entire like partnership. And it's happened to me so many times. So honestly, it's just natural. Like I wouldn't even say it's something that I like try extra hard on. Like it just kind of just happens naturally. And I think that that's when things really flow the best.
Word. I agree. That's very dope. Now earlier you spoke about how you've gained all this influence from music, and you started in design and this and that, and you even mentioned artists like Kaytranada, and it made me lead to the question of do you plan on putting out any music yourself, and is that something that you're working towards, or do you feel like the task of blending other people's sounds is enough?
I don't have any concrete plans to make music. I never have.
Okay.
I know myself, if I were to download any software, whether it be Logic or anything like that, I know that I would be super, super locked in. So if I ever did want to make music, I would need to really have the time to do so. I'm pretty busy now. And honestly, I'm the kind of person who will try their hand at anything. Like I'll paint for like 2 months straight, then stop, or I'll be a photographer for a few months and then stop. And I'll just constantly go through the cycle throughout the year. So maybe one day I might, but right now I'm chilling. I'm not too worried about making music.
Okay. Well, what goes into the process of what you just mentioned, of picking up a different task and, exploring a different medium? That's something that I personally experience as well, but I'm curious to know from your perspective, like what makes you get into a mode where you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to do that myself instead of worrying about finding somebody who can do that.
Just try it. And I have no problem with like collaborating with people either. It's just more so sometimes I'm like, I'm actually curious how that works, and having like a base knowledge of how a lot of different things work when it comes to the arts, it helps you communicate better with people who are in the space.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you don't know everything, and I'd never claim to know everything, but maybe I'll try my hand at something for a little bit. I'll encounter a few problems. I'll find some benefits. I might find some peace in it. And when I meet that artist, I'll be like, hey, like, so when you do X, Y, and Z, like, do you feel that level of calmness? Or like, have you run into this problem? And it makes conversations and that whole networking thing a lot easier. So honestly, it's just random. I'll just try it, see how it works, and then hopefully it'll help me communicate better with others later on.
Okay. And in terms of events, you spoke about throwing your own events. How often do you do that?
Honestly, whenever I have time. Sometimes it can be a lot. Sometimes it can be maybe like two for the year. This year I had a moderate amount of events, but an event that I do have on a monthly basis is Sample Sunday with the Gumbo. That is kind of like my premier event at the moment. So basically just playing the samples to all of our favorite hip hop and R&B songs throughout the years, and some other songs too. So that's kind of my premier event that I have once a month. And outside of that, I do some events with Vibe Certified as well. And Vibe Certified essentially is just an art appreciation collective. And we had an event in August where we just celebrated the art of music, and we had a bunch of different DJs that use laptops, DJs that use CDJs, DJs that play more electronic music, DJs who would have their own music interwebbed in their actual set. So we kind of had a little task on our hands, but we executed that really, really well. That was good. So I'm on a tangent, but yeah, you get the gist.
Yeah, it's all good. Do you think that it's important for DJs to throw their own events, or do you think that it's the traditional way of just like getting booked and uh you know going, I guess, being in a full set with other DJs and other things of that nature? How important do you think it is to diversify?
I think that again, I'm really big on this. Every DJ has their own journey, whether that means that you do bars and clubs or you DJ for yourself for the rest of your life. It doesn't, whatever your personal journey is, that's your journey. So whether DJs throw events or they're just tough on like amongst the homies, you know, that's on them. I think for me personally, I think for my personal journey, it's important that I, do my own events and then also collaborate with others who ask me to do their events as well. And I think having that, and then also getting just bookings from just like agency type things. So having a mix of all of those types of events, I feel like it helps me personally feel well-rounded. But yeah.
Word. And what's in the future for Quinn Bee? You got a lot on your hands in terms of being multidisciplinary. You got a lot of things you can manage at once. So I'm curious to know if this is the beginning of a long DJ career. Do you want to start some major multimedia production, or what? What are we looking at?
I'll never stop DJing. I love DJing so much, and honestly, that's my primary um, art source, I guess. But in the future, I definitely want to be able to direct a little bit, whether that's projects or like actual like shoots. I really want to get into that and just have a better understanding of how those processes go. I've done a few shoots here and there, but I kind of just want to sharpen that up a bit. And honestly, just free flowing and just kicking it with the homies and my loved ones and just having a good time. That's
Word.
the future for me.
And when you say shoots, you mean like directing photo shoots?
For video
Oh,
shoots,
video shoots. Okay.
music videos, maybe like short films, anything. I don't know. I just want to have a better understanding of that. Maybe do some assistant direction or some direction of my own production. I don't know. Just want to be more of a part of that.
Word.
Yeah.
And you spoke about loved ones and getting connecting with them. How do the people closest to you in your life impact your music or vice versa?
I'm always interested to hear what anybody who I spend significant time with, what they are listening to, whether that's like more of like immediate family or that's just like friends. So I'm like a sponge when it comes to that. They'll put me onto something. All I have to do is hear it once. I know it now. It's my song basically in my head. So, or people just send me music sometimes. So they're a very big influence on what I listen to, and vice versa. But yeah, it was definitely a give and a take when it comes to sharing music.
Word. Sounds dope. All right. Well, this has been dope. This has been a very dope conversation. Um, what do you have coming up soon?
I have a few things coming up.
Like
Um,
end of the year type situations, since we're rounding out the year.
so in December, we have the last sample Sunday of the year. That's going to be at Ode. And I have a few events that a few people that I've known throughout the DJ world have asked me to do over the next, honestly, this week, next week, and then into December. So I'm going to be moving around a bit. I wish I could name them all, but I can't. Not trying to talk what I'm just saying. I'm just saying so a few things coming up. Can't name them all. But the one event that I definitely can name because it is my premiere event is Sample Sunday happening at Old. That's coming up in the beginning of December.
Very, very cool. All right, Quinn Bee, it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Of course. Same. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How about you go ahead and plug your socials so people know where to find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram at QUINXBEE, Quinn Bee, Quinn XB. And if you go on my Instagram, you can find my link tree and pretty much all my socials through there. So definitely look me up on Instagram.
All righty. And as always, folks, VS Mike History on Twitter and versus Mike History on Instagram and TikTok, versusmikehistory.com for everything else related to the brand. Go ahead and subscribe to that newsletter as well. And I'll see you guys at the next episode. Peace.